evening. Just a glimpse there of some of the behind-the-scenes activity here at Derry's Cross. From Westwood to TSW, from the black and white days of the early 60s to the colourful world of the 80s. Well, we've been together now for 25 years. Yes, it's 25 years today since independent television went on the air in the Southwest. So, to celebrate, we'd like to share just a few of our memories and to see again some of the stories, some of the pictures from the past quarter of a century. And to join me in memory lane, two friends, two old friends, Judy and Laurie.
Not so much of the old, thank you.
Oh, come on, 1961.
What do you mean?
Now, let me change the subject here. I remember 1961, I was a mere youth then, I can tell you. Let me try and remember, there was Harold Macmillan was Prime Minister, I think. Petrol was 4 and twopence a gallon. Beer was 1 and twopence halfpenny a pint. And here, just like everywhere else, the 60s were starting to swing.
Clap your hands. Ah, you're looking good. I'm going to sing my song. It won't take long. We're going to do the twist, and it goes like this. Come on, let's twist again, like we did last summer. Yeah, let's twist again, like we did last year. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, 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 yeah. You think you've lost your love? Well, I saw her yesterday. It's you she's thinking of, and she told me what to say. She said she loves you, and you know that can't be bad.
Did you see those bathing costumes? Like a couple of Exocet missiles keeping her up there.
I love the eyelashes.
The eyelashes, yeah. Well, for those of us who've been tuning into ITV since the 60s, here's a reminder of some of the earliest of the television faces in the Southwest. This guy was the leader of the pack, the late Guy Corrie, Westwood's first chief announcer. Sheila Kennedy was our first lady, and also the first handler of a certain long-eared troublemaker. Yes, dear old Gus, already hard at play in the 60s.
Well, this chap was just a boy when he started, our announcer, Roger Shaw, of course. And another likely lad, the callow Stuart Hutchison. Nowadays, of course, writing TSW's promotions. The late Kenneth Horne was the first presenter of Treasure Hunt, a long-running quiz show. And, of course, some homegrown presenters become national stars, too. A very trendy-looking Angela Rippon, and the lovely Jan Leeming, who also cut her teeth reading the local news.
We also came across this picture. Unfortunately, nothing was written on the back, so we can't give you a name. Sorry about that. Do you know what a handsome guy he must have been, eh? Such style, didn't you think?
A little shifty across the eyes, I think.
Oh, that was before the operation. But surely one of the most important jobs for any regional television station is that of watching its viewers, keeping abreast of all local events and all the local news.
Since the 60s, we've transmitted millions of words and pictures recording the tragedies and triumphs of life here in the Southwest. And today the show goes on. In the newsroom, another edition of Today Southwest is taking shape.
May 23rd.
Right. Hello, John. You want to have a brief chat about what we've got on the programme today?
Each day brings a new crop of stories, but there's one subject which has consistently grabbed the headlines. Over the last 25 years, we've spent a great deal of time talking about the weather.
And, of course, with good reason. When you consider chilling scenes like this one of the great blizzard years in the West Country. 3 railway engines hopelessly marooned between Tavistock and Oakhampton. Places the drifts reached an astonishing 60 feet, and many towns and villages were cut off for days on end. In the 70s, the tiny Devon community of Tor Cross was battered by fierce gales and huge seas. More than 400 villages had to be evacuated, and when they returned, they found homes and businesses lying in ruins. Along the coast in Dorset, Portland suffered spectacular flooding, twice within 2 months. The sea crashed over the rooftops, leaving bizarre mountains of scrap metal piled in its wake.
Some Sometimes it's been a shortage of water which has made the news. Thirsty summers when the reservoirs dried up and the taps were turned off.
From 9 o'clock this morning, 150 Water Authority staff have been turning off the mains to the first of 30,000 households in North, Mid and West Devon, for whom rationing has become a reality. And no one can say when the mains will be turned on again.
If you've got the whiskey to go in it, we'll have it.
In the 80s, the southwest was parched again, but this time there was a secret weapon waiting in the wings. Big Chief John Morley from Bournemouth rode in to perform a ritual rain dance. And that's why the drought minister needed a brolly. With wonderful irony, there was a downpour when he came to see water officials and the empty reservoirs just a few days later.
Well, we saw there a couple of examples of the power and the fury of the sea. And of course, on a peninsula like ours, there have been many, many more stories of the sea and of ships. Some of them sad, some of them glorious.
Yes, indeed, and this was one of the most extraordinary scenes. Plymouth Hoe, as the city awaited the return of Sir Francis Chichester.
Single-handed, he had sailed from Plymouth, and single-handed, he'd brought her back to Plymouth, as he had promised. From the shore, they beheld a great armada heralded by carnival plumes of red, white, and blue. Gypsy Moth reached her own buoy and was made fast. Lights helped to pick her out, and the watchers saw a cheerful wave.
From a famous homecoming to a stunning departure, 80 tall ships racing to Lisbon. And then there were the ships which were going nowhere, like the supertanker Torrey Canyon, aground on the Seven Stones Reef. As she broke apart, her massive cargo of crude oil gushed relentlessly towards the holiday beaches. Eventually, aircraft were called in to attack the enemy, dropping bombs and aviation fuel in an attempt to burn off the remaining oil.
Another famous casualty, the trawler Jean Gougy of Dieppe, driven onto rocks at Land's End. 12 men were lost, most of them swept away as they tried to reach lines fired by coast guards. But miraculously, many hours later, there were 6 men still alive on board, and they were snatched to safety by the rescue teams. The German freighter Kremsetor listing heavily after gales 30 miles southwest of Plymouth. 22 members of the crew were rescued by tug, the remaining 7 by helicopter. The ship finally sank some 8 hours later off Falmouth.
Sometimes, tragically, the rescuers themselves have become victims. The sea claimed the coxswain and 7 men of the Penley lifeboat. They'd gone to the assistance of a coaster in a force 10 gale, but the 4 crewmen, the captain, his wife, and his 2 nieces also died. The ship, the Union Star, now forever a symbol of the bravery of lifeboatmen in the southwest.
Sadly, our archives contain many reports of disasters across 25 years, involving the sea, roads, rail, and aircraft, all with their terrible legacy of grief. But thankfully, our cameramen have witnessed the happy times too, times to be enjoyed and remembered by those taking part.
The origin of the Clydesdale hobby horse is a bit confused. One story has it that a mermaid once got very angry with the people of Clydesdale and put a curse on the place, and so they've got this thing out every year to keep the evil spirits away, right? Woo, get on, Another story is that it's... can I join in? Thank you. Another story is that it's supposed to keep the French invaders away. Well, I haven't seen any French people here today, so apparently it works.
Welcome to Ottery St Mary on a night of tradition that you could really only expect to find in the West Country. This is the night when this normally quiet East Devon town goes flaming mad, quite literally. And they do it with blazing tar barrels like that one there. There's about 20 men, as you can see, dressed in a natty line of sackcloth suiting, fighting for the right to be the first man to carry a blazing tar barrel through the streets of Ottery in 1975. It looks a bit risky, it is a bit risky, but they've been doing it since the 14th century without serious injury, and they're not going to be stopped now.
Absolutely terrifying. And another dramatic event, this time in Plymouth. A city centre car park gave way to this. Magnificent new Theatre Royal, 20 years of planning, 3 years of hard labour, with Princess Margaret there to raise the curtain. Now, spot the missing landmark here, a bridge for the trains, but the cars are still crossing by ferry. But all that changed in 1962 with the Queen Mother opening the bridge, brand new road across the Tamar.
Great.
Those are the days.
Queues are still as long,
Yes.
aren't they? In fact, I think they were
Nothing's
shorter with the
changed.
ferry.
Shorter? Well, we need another one now, don't we?
We'll be back in just a moment after this commercial break.
Let's go with so many things.
Do you crunch? You don't? Well, you should, you know. Get your crunch disc. Fast, because the crunch is happening.
Crunch and crunch, when it comes to the crunch, crunch, it's Smith.
Just send 3 empty bags and 1 and 6pence to Smith's Crisps for your crunch disc.
When it comes to the crunch, crunch, it's Smith. It is.
Palladium Girls prove Surroundster girdles with crossover panels let you move, keep you smooth. No matter how active you are, Surroundster's crossover panels let you move, keep you smooth.
I'm going well, I'm going Shell.
Good heavens, I know that voice.
I'm going well on Shell, Shell, Shell.
It's Bing Crosby.
Britain is great, well, let's see it in state. You can be sure of Shell. In the Emerald Isle, you drive with a smile. Nothing but fun on Shell, Shell, Shell. Ah, you can be sure of Shell. On the old heather track, well, hi, Mac. I'm doing well on Shell, Shell, Shell. I'm going well on Shell. Now it's the end of the trip, and it's back to the ship. What a wonderful time on Shell, Shell, Shell. That's another road film over. Oh, you can be sure of Shell.
Thanks, Bing.
It's a pleasure, Mr. Shell. Keep going well, keep going Shell. You can be sure of Shell.
No, I have not joined the Royal Navy. I merely have a burst pipe in my attic. I rang the plumber. He said he'd be round as soon as he'd finished his breakfast. That was 2 hours ago. Now, what he's having for his breakfast, I do not know.
Eggs. He'll be having eggs, the same as everyone else.
Of course. He can't be having them boiled or fried. That'd be too quick. He's probably having them made up into a soufflé surprise.
There's hundreds of different ways of doing eggs.
Ah, there. Well, he must be trying a lot. I can see him standing there in his boiler suit. The only plumber with a certificate from the Cordon Bleu.
Variety is egg-shaped.
And so is your umbrella. Hold it over me while I eat me eggs.
Eggs is versatile. You can do anything with eggs.
Well, try using a couple of them to block up that pipe. Oh, my soldiers are soggy.
some lean, some small, some whoppers. We herewith present the Winnicombe Toppers. Oh, the juice is busy in the regular, the busy and the obvious reason it is our silly season. Aren't we all miracle, a regular miracle? Spring, all the feelings quite dashing, don't you think? We look dashing, it's so good for the figure. Gives us all vim and vigor. We're all a twittering, husband, baby, sittering.
And another rare sight, this time in a pub near St. Austell.
Very famous people have been here, rare characters like James Watt. And even today, some very weird and peculiar people become customers of this public house, as you can see. I don't know who's the customer here and who, in fact, is the... Who's come in for a drink here, David?
Oh, sit by, this is Queenie. She very often comes into the bar, and the dog also likes to ride.
He just comes in for the ride?
Oh, he likes to come in behind the bar and eat a few chips. Sit down, boy. All
I said the dog can't drink because it's driving, really, isn't it?
No, yeah.
But Queenie can have. What does Queenie have?
Sit down, boy.
Hello. Well, that's the rarest thing I've ever seen walk into a public house, I must admit.
Sit down, boy. It's very difficult. Sit down, boy. Very difficult for him to start. Oh, a driver. Come along.
He's gone.
Driver.
Oh, Queenie. What does Queenie have, by the way?
Oh, she might eat a few chips.
She might eat a few chips. Now, I know you've got another customer that does eat potato crisps, haven't you?
Oh, definitely.
Bubbles. Can Bubbles come in as well? Wait till you see this.
Bubbles, you
come
want
on,
chips?
Bubbles.
Come on, man.
Come on, then.
Come on, man.
Come on, Bubbles.
Come on,
You are. Come on, then.
Just see how she gets on.
Come on, then. I'll get him out. Oh, hold on a minute. Dear me. You can't be that hungry. You've had 2 ton of hay out there. There you are.
Still in Cornwall, this was Gwen Roberts caring tenderly for her pet, Daisy, a 9-foot, 18-stone alligator from the African jungle.
Where are you going, Daisy?
Appropriately, they lived on the Lizard Peninsula. Daisy was said to be affectionate and gentle, although at times a little stubborn.
Come on, in the garden. Come on, you go in the garden like a good girl. Come on, in we go. Come on, whoops, Daisy. Whoops, Daisy. She's awake, isn't
Yes,
she?
she is.
Won't you stop and she is? Come on. That's a good girl. Now you go out in the garden. No, that's silly, the garden. Out in the garden. Come along, you don't need to cry. You can cry afterwards. Come along. Over we go, in the garden. Out in the garden. Oops, Daisy. Come on, that's a good girlie. Hurry up. Hurry up, that's a good girlie. Come on. Out in the garden. Taking on the candy round there. That's it. That's the way we go. Come on.
A much lovelier creature, film star Jane Mansfield, touring in a controversial Saucy stage show. The intrepid interviewer, David Mudd, yet to become MP.
Miss Mansfield, going back to the beginning of your history, you started it as a Miss World. Now, twice the Southwest has provided Miss Worlds. How can they reach stardom like yours?
Oh, I don't know, darling. I suppose it's just pursuing one's goal. Wouldn't you say?
Having pursued it, what then?
Well, you know, it's, keep pursuing it, Academy Award, better yourself as an actress, have more children, that's what I want, everything.
Coming on to your present act, what does this involve?
Actually, I sing and I dance and I do sketches and carry on, and sort of, I mean, kibitz with people in the audience and sort of tweak cheeks and, all kinds of little things like that.
Is there anything that you would describe as being spiritually harmful?
No, it's very pure, actually.
In what way?
It's all satire, tongue-in-cheek.
You have said satire and not sex. Where does satire end and sex begin?
I do a satire on sex. Don't you?
I received a letter this morning with the most startling revelation.
Well, I won't read it to you, but the gist of the whole thing is that Adolf Hitler is alive and well and living at 33 Bickham Street, St. Budo, and with it, the most extraordinary photographic likeness of same. Quite extraordinary, in his house-painting overalls, no less. I really don't know what to say to the man. I mean, what does one say? Maybe he's down the bunker. Good morning, Vigates, are you who, we think you probably are, are you?
No, I'm afraid not. I'm Mr. Terence Hancock.
In an area rather short on continental restaurants, a chap has to show a little initiative in introducing something different into his diet.
Well, look, Jack, the heat from these lights is making these snails pretty athletic. So I think we'd better see you go ahead and eat one, if you wouldn't mind.
You want me to eat one?
Yes, if you would, please.
Well, I hope he won't make me bad.
No, I shouldn't think so.
He's got nice and slimy nose.
All right. Do you ever feel sorry for the snails that you eat? Or do you think it's good that they should do a bit of good work?
No, they buggers ought to feel sorry for me.
Dear.
Oh,
Yes.
dear. Oh, I feel sick. Oh.
Perhaps one should have given you a bit of early warning about that. Good old Andy Price. There then, just a few of our favourite pieces of film from the good old days. But of course, television is very much about the future too. It's an industry that's constantly changing, developing, always on the move. New ideas, new programs, new technology, and new faces.
Then you might well get
That's when we must bring our birthday party to a close. It seems to have gone very quickly, just like the past quarter of a century of independent television in the Southwest. Above all, we want to thank you for watching. The first 25 years has been fun. Here's to the next 25 years. To finish, we thought we'd show you some of the other faces here at Derry's Cross, the unsung heroes, all those who do their bit behind the screen to bring our programmes into your sitting room. They're a grand bunch, and handsome too. From us all, good night.